Hello tankers, I'd like to share my Italian experience so far in War Thunder today and perhaps provide you with a few useful tips if you're just starting out in this game. Italy will be my main in War Thunder. Main means the nation that you'll play the most. I have only just reached rank 3 having purchased the M4A4 Sherman V. I'll also play some of the other nations at times, those being Britain, as I'm British, as well as France and Sweden. Anyway, enough of the intro, let's get into the play, and I'll have a bit of a discussion on my experience so far and playstyle with the Italian tech tree in ground battles. Okay, so we're in battle. The Italian experience so far, well, what can I say? Very difficult playstyle, very unforgiving. Here I'm actually playing the Stuart, which is an American tank, but it is in the Italian tech tree. I just wanted to showcase what I usually like to do at the start of battle, which is to pick a light tank and head for the cap. Now I'll try and cap usually, but if I think there's a lot of enemy approaching, which is what happens in this case, then I'll try and pick a position around it where I can take advantage of any of the enemy that might make mistakes, like pushing aggressively, being a bit overly cocky, and you can get flanking shots in. And this is what it's about in War Thunder, I think, especially with these Italian tanks, is to get to good positions as quickly as possible. You can't brawl in most of these tanks. Most of the light tanks have got no armour whatsoever. You can't even angle the tank to block shots. The medium tanks, you may be able to angle the tank, but it's very unreliable armour. So what I do here, instead of getting on the cap and trying to get the capture points, which gives me XP and credits, I take up a nice flanking position. I was able to get a few hits in on the tanks, but the main thing as well is that I was able to do some spotting. And in the end I ended up with 4 kill assists. I know I didn't get any kills, but for a light tank like the Stuart, I'm very happy with 4 kill assists. And like I say, what it's about is just waiting for the enemy to push and keep making those mistakes. Try not to go head to head, because Italian tanks, and including some of the American ones as well, like the Stuart, because it's lightly armoured, you know, if you try to brawl in them, you're dead. If you try to play too aggressive, if you try to push around corners, you're usually snap fired, one-shotted, you're dead. You've got to respawn in another tank or it's back to the hangar. And that's what I think about Italian tanks. Very difficult to play, steep learning curve. But here I managed to do well. This is where I probably made a mistake. I also want to showcase my mistakes in these videos, and I think an experienced player would have relocated now, because there's a lot of the enemy pushing forward to get on the cap. In the end I'm outflanked. I should have retreated and relocated to a better position. I got a bit greedy as well, kept trying to take shots, and then it contributed to my downfall. But I also want to showcase what happens with this other player. There's an M4 Sherman that pushes up, and I think he puts himself into a precarious position as well. And this is the kind of thing I was doing early on in this game when I started playing. Just putting myself in really bad positions, being overly aggressive, you get really eager, you want to kill, you want to do something. You push yourself out into the open and you're in trouble. I think in this game you've got to use anything that you can for cover. Like here I've got some rocks to hide behind. It could be buildings, it could be the carcass of dead tanks. Just use cover. I think that's even more important than, say, using bushes and trees like you would do in something like World of Tanks. I think it's more about using all the cover around you that you can and trying to dodge the fire. But yeah, it's been a very steep learning curve, and you can't brawl in these tanks. There's the P40, which does have a little bit of armour, but again, if you're up against something like a T34, you know, it's no match really. Those T34s, they can snap fire, they've got speed, they can snipe as well. Many times I've been sniped by T34s, just didn't even know where it was. Very, very difficult. Eventually it will get easier, because if you play hours and hours on this game and rack up the experience, you'll start to learn what to do with these tanks. I'm still learning, but I'm getting an idea that a lot of it is about taking up good positions as quickly as possible. So, on to some real Italian vehicles now, and kicking off with the AB43. This is a little armoured car, very difficult to handle, very unforgiving, no armour on it, even machine guns can pen this. very difficult to play. And I make a complete noob mistake straight away. Too aggressive. I'm trying to go for the cap, and I come across about 3 or 4 of the enemy. I suddenly halt. I'm thinking, oh my god, retreat, retreat, retreat. I'm backing up. Just, I don't know, I'm not dead at this point, but somehow I get behind this little building. I do get a bit of spotting, and that's about it. I make an horrendous mistake, and I basically show you how not to play the AB-43. It's a very difficult armoured vehicle. It's a good sniper. I think if you can get in cover, get in some good positions, you can snipe the enemy. But I just, honestly, that was horrendous. I was a bit too aggressive. Probably wasn't concentrating enough. Pressing the W key, and that's doom, isn't it? Anyway, on to the next vehicle, the P40, Mussolini's Heavy. And here we go. Pushing on in. I'm going to dominate. Well, not quite. So, the P40, this does have a bit of armour. I would say this is a little bit more forgiving, but it's still not great when you're coming up against T-34s. When you're up against light tanks, the armour is quite effective. At this point I'm not quite sure what to do. There are enemy around. I don't know whether to go for the C cap or the B cap. In the end I sort of go in between. I'm pushing on now. I've made my decision where I'm going to go, and that turns out to be another mistake. As you'll see in a minute, I do what I usually do, push around a corner when there's about 3 enemy waiting for me. So here we go. I've just seen a teammate push forward as well, so I'm following him in. There's an enemy there. I could have taken a shot. I think it's a Stuart M5A1. So I could have taken a shot there, maybe a little mistake there. But I push on, pressing the W key. I can see my teammate's in trouble, so I just follow him in like a noob. And then I'm under fire. About 2 or 3 enemy all firing. I'm fortunate that they seem to be light tanks and machine gun fire coming in. My armour comes to the fore here. I didn't deliberately angle it or anything, I just got fortunate. So at this point it's a little bit of a waiting game now. I have to be quite patient. I don't want to push around the corner because I'm dead. And I'm waiting for teammates to push up and distract the enemy. So a little bit of boring play here. I'm just waiting around, admiring the views, admiring the buildings. I'm a little bit concerned about enemy coming around from the C cap, so I'm not in a great position. So it's just about waiting for my teammates to distract the enemy. I'm sort of listening for gunfire, listening for the enemy firing their guns, and then I can sort of pop round and take some shots. I think there's a Crusader around there. And I do in fact get a kill assist at this point. Just waiting for my time. Or should I say just waiting for the right time. I'm not using machine guns in this game at the moment. I'm just using the main armament. I haven't binded the key for machine guns for secondary armament yet. I will do so in future. Might be able to show some gameplay where you might want to use the machine gun. I'm just concentrating on the main gun. I'm just not good enough for the game yet. So I pop around the corner, take a few shots at the Crusader, and I do get a hit and I get a kill assist. There's one shot, I don't think I hit there. Eventually I get one. And over 6 minutes in, I finally actually do a bit of work, apart from that little bit of spotting the AB-43. So I'm starting to feel a little bit better now. This wasn't the best battle I've ever had in the P40, but I do manage to get a kill and some kill assists, so I'll take it. Take another shot, I don't even know what I'm shooting at here. And then sort of wondering, where do I go now? Should I go for the C cap? I know there'll be enemy around there. Again, you constantly try to sort of make decisions, trying to make the right decisions. Sometimes it goes well and sometimes it doesn't. I get more fortune, I think, and it coming up in a minute. I run into a Sherman. Again, making that mistake of just too eager to pop round the corner. And there he is, the Sherman's just waiting there. I take a shot, miss, he takes a shot, and I think he disables my track, I'm not certain, but I couldn't move, I had to fix something. Got away with it big time. I think it's the Sherman variant with the 105mm, so it's quite a dangerous opponent there. Got away with it, and then managed to get a couple of hits in on him, on his turret. I was firing over the water fountain in the cap. Got a couple of hits, and it's my second kill assist. I'm feeling a bit better about the game now. An awful start, but we're getting in there. The P40 is, well, it's working for now anyway. Mussolini's heavy, demonstrating that it has some armour. So, where do we go now? Again, not sure where. Decisions. Again, I just end up pushing forward. Again, I do that silly thing of peeking around corners, not knowing what's around the corner and nearly getting hit. It's not at this point, but soon. Again, I'm sort of like dithering. I'm thinking, oh, where do we go? This is what this game's like sometimes. I think, oh. Just a bit of my cautious gameplay, but not too cautious here because I nearly get shot. Someone around the corner taking shots at me. There we go, bounced another one. Oh yes. Mussolini's heavy. Oh yeah, it's got great armour. Never doubted it. Bounce another one. Reversing for my life here, and this is where I'm in a real bad position because I think it's a Stuart waiting around that behind that dead carcass there, dead tank, and then the rest of the enemy charge around as well. I think an A13 comes along and a T80, but they demonstrate probably what you shouldn't do in a light tank, because I am a P40. I'm pretty formidable against those two. I don't really have great guns to penetrate my armour. If it had been a medium tank charging around, I would have been in trouble. I think I'm disabled at this point. Lost my manoeuvrability, I can't move at all. I'm not purposefully angling my tank to bounce shots, I'm just getting fortunate. It's only a Stuart, I think, behind that dead tank. So I'm blocking the shots. And along comes an A13. He's thinking about it, Shall I push round? Doing what I do, pushing round corners. He's taking chances, but he gets a hit on me. Bounce. Oh, what a tank the P40 is, eh? Not really much impressive, really. I mean, if there's a T34 coming around the corner, I'd be dead by now. Then the T80 comes round. So the T80 becomes a bit of a nuisance, charges right into me. I manage to stop him in his tracks. Then I'm taking fire from all angles. Gets a bit stressful, but the P40 is showing that it can block a lot of shots. It's got some armour. I'm pushing the T80 back, trying to bully him. Then my attention turns to the T28. I forget to kill the T80. Bit of a problem there, but I start using him as a shield. Then I'm taking lots of shots and I'm on fire. I do manage to put a shell into the T80's turret and get him out of the way. And then I'm just taking fire all the time. I can't get my tank going, I can't get it fixed in time, and I do lose the vehicle. But it does show that the P40 does have some armour, unlike a lot of the low tier Italian tanks. So I've got enough spawn points now to go into an aircraft. So here we go, into the FC-20 bis. And what I found with the aircraft when you're on bombing runs, it's kind of risk to reward. I think you've got to try and go in low enough so that you can see the targets well to get the timing right. But unfortunately, the lower that you go, the more easier it is for the enemy to hit you. And I demonstrate that in this video. Unfortunately, I don't get the timing right, so I don't get any kills, no hits, no targets destroyed, and then I'm shot down. So as you can see, I'm going in quite low. If I'm high up, the targets are like ants. I can't see them very well. I can't get the timing right. But if I go in low and I can see the targets quite well, then unfortunately I don't demonstrate it here, but now since recording this video I'm getting quite good at the timing. In arcade mode you get the targeting system. With this being ground battles and realistic, you don't get that targeting system, so it's very difficult to get the timing right. It's a lot of practice. Eventually you get there, you get the timing, and then I'm shot down. And this still happens even when I'm getting successful bombing raids. You know, I get the targets destroyed, but unfortunately I'm shot down afterwards. And I'm shot down by Track Goblin. Wouldn't you believe? And there you go. I'm in flames. I'm going down. And that is the end of the FC20 BIS. Not a good one to show you here. I will do another recording on aircraft play and hopefully show you a successful bombing run. Takes some time getting used to the aircraft in ground battles. Little Track Goblin got me. So, on to the Panzer IIIN. This is actually a nice tank, but it's German. I get unfortunate here because the Grant 1 charges in right where I've spawned in and exposes his side. I put 2 shells into him and managed to take him out. But yeah, this Panzer IIIN, it's got like a nice punchy short barrel gun on it. You'll take out a lot of light tanks with it. It's quite fun to play. I do recommend this tank. Unfortunately, it's not Italian. I don't do much else in the battle now. I just roam around. I can't find many of the enemy. It's getting towards the end of the battle. I managed to cap and that's it. And that's pretty much the end of the fun. So, Italian tanks, yeah. Very tough work. I will finish this video with a few general beginner tips from my experience in War Thunder so far. First, start off with one of the main nations such as USSR, the US and Germany if you're serious about the game and want to learn quickly. The learning curve will be more forgiving as the tanks are usually better at low tiers in these tech trees. Only pick a smaller nation, like I did, if you really love the tanks of that nation and you're only a casual player. Next tip, when you spawn into battles, get into positions quickly. Don't be too aggressive. Pushing too hard results in death more often than not. Wait for the enemy players to push, let them make the mistakes which you can take advantage of. As you get more experience, you will know when is the right time to be aggressive and you can push the enemy. Another tip, start at least the first month of playing War Thunder in arcade mode so you can get a feel for the game. Realistic battles are much harder, as shown in my gameplay. It's harder to see the enemy and it can result in you becoming deflated and unhappy with the game if you play this mode too early. I uninstalled the game for a few weeks because of how hard I found the mode. I've been a bit of a salty muppet, but I reinstalled after having a word with myself. Once you've had some time in arcade battles, switch to realistic for a few weeks and see how you feel. If it went badly, go back to arcade and then you'll need to make a decision. Shall I stick with arcade or move into realistic battles permanently at some point? Keep switching to realistic until you feel comfortable and getting kills and assists. A lot of players play realistic in ground battles and arcade in air battles. That is what I've decided for me. Realistic air battles are not much fun in my opinion, mainly because you don't get any respawns like you do in ground realistic battles. So once your aircraft has been destroyed, that's it, back to the hangar. I also found that the Italian aircraft are much inferior in speed and manoeuvres compared to aircraft of the main nations such as USSR and the US. If you see a plane with the word yak above it, you are in trouble if you're in an Italian plane. So this influenced my decision as Italy is my main nation I play. Another important tip is don't advance through the game too quickly, and this also means don't buy a high-ranked premium vehicle. It's tempting because of the cool tanks and aircraft that War Thunder have for sale. But you are better off buying a starter pack like I did, having purchased the Italian starter pack. They are cheap and are on offer at half price at certain times during the year. You won't feel like you've wasted money if you decide the game is not for you. Pick a starter pack from one of the major nations unless you really love the tanks of a certain nation. I really liked the M1441 Italian tank, having seen a video of it in operation at a tank museum. As it was in the starter pack in War Thunder, I thought that would do for me. A final tip, try and spade each tank that you play with as quickly as you can, especially if you're going to play it a lot. Spading means getting all the modifications researched and purchased. It will improve your tank a lot and result in easier gameplay that you will enjoy. We all like to enjoy the game, otherwise what is the point in playing? Okay, that's it from me. I'll see you in the next one.